I'm Harper Reynolds, 28, the middle child in our Seattle family. Last Tuesday, we gathered in my parents' Bellevue living room, the usual mix of salmon and judgment. I took a breath and mentioned I was thinking about starting my own company. My parents burst out laughing. "You'll never run a business like your siblings," my mom said, her voice dripping with disbelief. My dad shook his head. "Stick to your little freelance thing, Harper." My older sister, Vanessa, always the perfect one, smiled that tight smile from across the couch. "She can barely manage her own finances," she said, her words cutting through the polite conversation. My younger brother Ethan, the tech genius, added, "She'll crash and burn in 6 months." The room felt smaller, their words heavier than the coffee cups in front of us. I didn't argue, didn't defend myself. I just nodded, my smile tight, holding a secret they couldn't imagine. 3 weeks later, my phone exploded with their calls. Panicked, desperate, confused. I didn't pick up. Instead, I sent one email. "Read the press release." They thought I was bluffing, but they'd learn soon enough. I'd spent 2 years building something they couldn't fathom, and I was done letting them define my potential. What happened next? Stay with me. You won't believe how their world fell apart. Have you ever been dismissed by your family? Drop a comment below. Share your story and hit subscribe to see how I turned their laughter into headlines. Growing up, the Reynolds family looked perfect from the outside. We lived in a sprawling house in Bellevue, Washington, with views of Lake Washington. My parents, Catherine, a corporate attorney, and Robert, a software executive, raised 3 kids who were supposed to be their legacy. My older sister Vanessa was the achiever, perfect grades, Harvard MBA, director at a Fortune 500 by 30. My younger brother Ethan was the prodigy, coding at 12, Stanford at 16, now running a successful AI startup in Silicon Valley. Then there was me, Harper, the creative one, the impractical one, the disappointment. When I was young, things felt balanced. We'd take family trips to the San Juans, kayaking in the Sound, roasting s'mores on rocky beaches. Dad would point out constellations while Mom taught us to identify tide pools creatures. Vanessa would help me with my homework. Ethan and I would build elaborate sandcastles together. But by middle school, the shift began. Vanessa got into an exclusive prep school. My parents threw a party. When I got accepted to the same school 2 years later, Mom said, "Well, we knew you'd follow in your sister's footsteps." Ethan started winning national coding competitions at 13, the house filled with his trophies. When I won a regional writing contest at 15, Dad glanced at the certificate and said, "That's nice, honey. Did you see Ethan's award from MIT?" I stopped expecting them to notice. By high school, I knew where I stood. Vanessa was their pride, the one who'd carry on the family's professional legacy. Ethan was their genius, the one who'd revolutionize something important. I was their wild card, the one who wrote poetry and designed websites for fun. "Harper's creative," Mom would tell her friends, the word carrying unspoken pity. "We're not sure what she'll do with that." When I told them I wanted to study UX design in college, Dad frowned. "That's not a real field. Why not business like Vanessa?" When I landed my first freelance contract at 19, Mom said, "How much did they pay you?" Then, when I told her, "Oh, that's cute." Vanessa graduated Harvard and got hired by McKinsey. The celebration lasted a week. I graduated University of Washington with honors in design. We had dinner at Olive Garden. Every family gathering became a showcase for my siblings. Vanessa's latest promotion, Ethan's newest startup funding round. My freelance work was background noise. "Still doing that computer stuff?" an uncle would ask. "It's UX design," I'd explain. Right, like websites. Ethan's doing real tech, though, the AI stuff." I learned to smile, to nod, to change the subject. My parents didn't mean to be cruel, they just didn't see me. In their world of corporate ladders and IPOs, my work, designing user experiences, crafting interfaces, solving human problems, didn't register as serious. So I stopped telling them things. When I landed a contract with a mid-sized tech company, I didn't mention it. When that led to another, bigger one, I stayed quiet. When I started working 16-hour days building something of my own, they thought I was just freelancing. Their blindness became my shield. Their dismissal became my fuel. I wasn't their creative anymore. I was someone building something they'd never see coming. Every family dinner was a performance I'd stopped auditioning for. Sunday dinners at my parents' Bellevue house followed a script. Vanessa would arrive from downtown Seattle condo in designer work clothes, even on weekends. Ethan would zoom in from Silicon Valley, his successful startup logo visible behind him. I'd drive over from my modest Fremont apartment in jeans and a sweater. The table was always set the same way. Mom's expensive china, Dad's wine from their collection, everything arranged to impress. Vanessa would start. The merger closed Friday. I'm leading the integration team, 40 people across 3 offices. Mom's eyes would light up. That's our girl, Robert. Didn't I tell you she'd make partner before 35? Dad would beam. Chip off the old block. Ethan would jump in next, his voice tinny through the laptop speakers. We just closed Series B, 20 million. Forbes wants to interview me next month. 20 million? Mom would gasp, as if she hadn't known already. Ethan, you're changing the world. Then they'd turn to me. The shift was palpable, like moving from champagne to tap water. Harper, how's the freelancing? Mom would ask, the pause before freelancing heavy with doubt. Good, I'd say, working on a new project. For who? Dad would ask. It's confidential right now. Vanessa would smile that smile. Still can't tell us about your clients. Must be very exclusive work. The sarcasm was gentle, but it landed. What does it pay? Dad would ask, as if that was only measure that mattered. I'd learned to deflect. Enough. Enough, Ethan would echo from the screen. That's not really a business metric, sis. The table would chuckle. Not mean, just dismissive. It happened every time. Once I mentioned I was working on something bigger. Mom perked up. A real job? A company, I said carefully. Dad set down his wine glass. Harper, starting a company requires capital, connections, experience. Vanessa could maybe help you find a stable position. I don't need Vanessa's help. We're just being realistic, Mom said. Vanessa built her career strategically. Ethan had investors fighting over him. You're still finding your way. Still finding my way? At 28? After 6 years of professional work? I stopped bringing it up. Vanessa would talk about her team, her budget, her influence. Ethan would talk about his pitch decks, his burn rate, his valuation. I would push food around my plate and plan my next move. One dinner, Mom's college friend was visiting, a woman I'd never met who spent the entire meal praising my siblings. Vanessa, you're extraordinary, and Ethan, such vision. Then she turned to me. And what do you do, dear? Before I could answer, Mom jumped in. Harper does freelance design work, websites, that sort of thing. How nice, the friend said, the same tone you'd use for a child's lemonade stand. I excused myself early that night, sat in my car in their driveway, hands gripping the steering wheel, and made a decision. I wouldn't tell them. Not yet. Not until it was undeniable. They thought they knew my ceiling. I was about to shatter it. While my family thought I was barely getting by, I was building an empire. 2 years ago, I'd started working on something that consumed every free hour, a SaaS platform for enterprise UX design collaboration. It started as a tool I built for myself, a way to streamline client feedback, version control, and team coordination. Then I realized other designers had the same pain points. I spent nights coding in my apartment, teaching myself full-stack development through YouTube tutorials and Stack Overflow. I designed the interface to be beautiful and intuitive, Everything I'd learned from 6 years of freelance work poured into one product. 6 months in, I had a working prototype. I showed it to a design friend, Marcus Chen, who'd worked at Adobe. His eyes went wide. "Harper, this could be huge. Like, actually huge." Marcus became my first hire, my co-founder really, though I kept majority ownership. He knew enterprise sales, I knew product. We launched a beta. 10 companies signed up in the first week, 50 in the first month. We charged $500 per month per team, started making real money. I reinvested everything, hired developers, built out features, refined the platform. The only person who knew the full scope was my best friend, Zoe Martinez. We'd meet at coffee shops in Capitol Hill and I'd show her the numbers. "You're at 2 million ARR?" she'd whisper, stunned. "Harper, that's insane."